Hi everyone, hope you're well. Can you hear in the background the ambient noise of children screaming? If you can, don't be alarmed. I haven't actually arranged for screaming children to be the soundtrack to my video or anything as sinister as that. It's just that our house backs onto, our back garden backs onto a school playing field. And today, although it's the weekend, said playing field is being used for some kind of sporting thing. And so there are screaming children and screaming adults and lots of people running around. Although I think they may have finished, they're kind of receding into the background. So if you hear screams, please don't be alarmed. The other noise that I've been contending with as I've prepared to make this video is the sound of tree lopping. So on the other side of the house, on the other side of the road from the front of the house, there has been some tree lopping going on, and the tree lopping has involved saws chopping down branches of trees and then those branches being ground up in some kind of wood chipping device. So there's been this kind of and then noise accompanied, that's at the front of the house, accompanied from the back of the house by the sound of children screaming. And if you didn't know what was going on and you didn't understand the context, it would be entirely possible to imagine that in my back garden somebody has been throwing children into some kind of grinding machine, because the noises would make you think that that's what was happening. I assure you that it's not. And hopefully the worst of the noise is over and we can get on with this video, or I can get on with this video, which I have tried and started and stopped about 15 times already. So I've promised myself that I'm not going to stop this time. I'm just going to plough ahead, even if I talk nonsense, which I might be doing already. So, what is the topic of this video? Well, it's actually going to be a bit of a freewheeling video because I haven't got a particular topic. Well, I've got a couple of particular topics that I want to cover, and I've also got probably 3 decks that I want to share with you. But this is not a deck walkthrough video, it's not even a particularly tarot related video, it's more a kind of chewing the fat kind of video. Speaking of which, that is a very neat segue into the first thing that I want to talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is the power of 3. Now, the power of 3 sounds a bit like it could fit in to my magic series, doesn't it? Did you know I'm doing a series on magic at the moment? Yes, indeed. On this channel, I am talking about magic. Not kind of, you know, pulling a rabbit out of a hat magic, but, you know, mystical, ooky spooky magic. That kind of stuff. Magic with a CK at the end if you are Aleister Crowley aligned. But it doesn't have to have that K. But that kind of magic. You know, the mystical, supernatural power kind of magic. Although, is it supernatural, you see? Even that is, well, that's a topic for another video. Let's not get into that for now. Let's get into the power of 3. So in magic, and the reason I've not made this actually a part of my magic series is you're about to see that I'm not really going to talk very much about magic, but there's kind of a link. So in magic, the idea of the power of 3 is quite important. So the idea of 3 ingredients leading to some kind of new move forward. And we see it in mystical traditions as well. You know, the Tao Te Ching talks about from nothing comes something, and from something comes 2 things, and from 2 things comes 3 things, and from 3 things comes the 10,000 things. In other words, 3, the power of 3, is the kind of mixture that you need in order to make things move forward. In the myth of Taliesin, there is the story of how, and I can't remember the exact details of it, but how 3 drops are placed in Ceridwen's cauldron, and that leads to all kinds of interesting transmogrifications of Taliesin and the process of the myth unfolding. So the idea that 3 things create more things. And where this came to kind of the forefront of my mind is, and this is where the chewing the fat link comes in. You see, I have not forgotten about that segue. You see, I'm linking it all together, even though it doesn't seem as though I am. The chewing the fat bit came in from the fact that I have become aware that I have been neglecting my fitness practice. Now, my fitness practice it's basically, it's a very simple one. The bottom line of it is very simple. Get up in the morning, do some exercise, so then your exercise is done for the day, and then get on with living your life. That's my kind of fitness philosophy. Now, it's a bit more than that. I have written about it in a book, which is probably not to hand, but I've written a whole book about healthy eating and fitness. And in that book I talk about, the 4 elements of fitness, stamina, strength, suppleness and serenity, and how you mix them together in different ways in order to build your fitness life. And you can do that regardless of, whether you like sport or don't like sport, or want to go to a gym or don't want to go to a gym. I don't want to go to a gym. I have got a going to the gym story for you. Don't let me forget. I will tell you the story before the end of this video, if I remember. Maybe I should tell it to you now. No, I want to just finish this thought, because although I'm managing to link various things together in my mind, there is a chance that this train will derail. So, chewing the fat about the fact that I had neglected my fitness life, because I got out of the habit of doing the thing of getting up in the morning and doing my workout. I'd actually got into the habit of thinking, well, I could leave it, I'll do it later in the day, and sometimes I can, but sometimes I don't. So, basically recently I have got into the bad habit of letting myself off the hook, getting up in the morning, and instead of doing what I had years and years ago promised myself I would do, which is do your exercises and get on with your day, I allowed myself to stop doing that. And consequently I have begun to feel just unfit, not as fit as I could feel, more tired, more lethargic, more kind of loose around the edges, that kind of feeling of just being not in shape in the way that I want to be in shape. And I'm not interested at all in being like Mr. Super Fit, where I've got hardly an inch of fat on me and 6-pack abs. That's not what I'm interested in. I'd rather tone my brain than my body. But I do want to be fit and I want to be healthy, and I don't want to be unhappy in the way that I feel. And I know that there's a certain level beyond which if I allow myself to put on too much weight and my trousers get too tight, or I just feel a little bit less fit than I know I can be, then I start to feel unhappy. And recently I've got to the point where I feel like I've tipped in that direction. And it's because I've got out of the habit of doing the thing I promised myself I would do, which is get up in the morning, do my exercises, get on with my day. So the power of 3, where that comes in is last week I made a commitment to myself. I thought, I know enough about this now, because I've fallen off the wagon enough times when it comes to not just my fitness practice, but any practice that I want to build. Tarot practice, meditation practice, mystical practice, whatever it is. Falling off the wagon, I know enough to know that simply saying to myself, just get back on the wagon and do it perfectly from now on, it doesn't work. It doesn't work as effectively as it could and as it should. The other way that it does work, though, is to say, just for today, do the thing that you've neglected to do. So if it comes to fitness, just for today, get up, do your exercises, and then do it again the next day, and then the next day. And don't think about, going back into this perfect fitness routine, because if you think about that, or at least I find if I think about that, unless I'm already feeling really motivated, that is not going to make me feel particularly good. It's just going to make me aware of what I'm not doing rather than aware of what I should be doing. So I thought, I'm going to try this. I'm going to apply the, rather than the just do it principle, I am going to apply the just for today principle, and I'm going to get up just for today and I'm going to do my workout, and then the next day I'm going to do the same, and so on and so forth. Well, I have been doing that for the last several days, and what I noticed was the tipping point came after day 3. So the first day I thought, just for today I'm going to get up and do my fitness practice. I did it and I felt good, and it took a bit of effort, but because it was just for today, I was able to focus myself to do it. So the next day I got up and did the same thing, and it was no harder and no more easy, or no harder, no easier than it had been the day before. It was just another just for today kind of thing. And I did it. And then on the third day, I got up and still applying this just for today principle, I will admit that I actually felt a bit like, oh, here we go again. Maybe I could just blow it off for today and I could do it later today or something. But because I had made myself this promise of just for today, doing my fitness thing, doing my exercises for half an hour, whatever it is I was doing, then you know, I thought I'm just going to stick with it. I promised myself to do this. I'm going to stick with it. So I did, and so I did the just for today on that third day. Well, day 4, I woke up, and it was amazing. I woke up, and for the first time in weeks, if not months, because that's how long I've been a little bit off kilter with this practice. For the first time, I woke up and I actually found myself thinking, I'm looking forward to my exercises, because I was aware of how much better they made me feel, how much more energy they had given me over the last few days, and also how doable it was. The idea of waking up that day, on that 4th day, and doing it just felt like it was so much easier because I had done the 3 days before. So therein lies the power of 3. It felt a bit like, because I had gone past the point of getting started and past the point of wanting to stop, and had kept going on that 3rd day, it just has energized me in a way that I should have known by now would be the case, but I had kind of forgotten, because sometimes you just need to remind yourself by doing these things. So for me, there is a kind of magic in that. And it made me think about the power of 3, and it made me think of the way that 3 is important in magic, in that whole kind of system, in the tarot. You know, the 3rd card of the major arcana is the Empress, and it's the Empress that represents that growth, that kind of outspring of creation, natural creation. And when you get then to the next one, the 4th one, that is controlled creation, the Emperor, this kind of self-sovereignty of deciding your own structures and so on. So, you know, you can look at it from the magical, mystical perspective, or you can look at it from the mundane perspective, but there is power in the power of 3, and that is what I wanted to tell you. Now, I mentioned my gym story. So while we're on the subject of fitness, there's something else I want to talk to you about in this video, but before we go on to that, let's talk about fitness and my gym story. By the way, do you like my t-shirt? You know, somebody said to me, it's a Guardians of the Galaxy t-shirt. Somebody said to me the other day, Brian, why have you got a t-shirt of yourself? Now, how do you answer a question like that? Because it clearly is not me. So either you say, well, it's not me, it's a character from Guardians of the Galaxy. But I have to confess, I haven't actually seen the second Guardians of the Galaxy, so I was a bit worried that they'd start asking me questions about it. And this is a still from the second film, which I will see. I enjoyed the first one, so I'll see the second one. But I didn't want to get into a conversation about Guardians of the Galaxy, frankly, because it would have embarrassed me. So, oh, the wind is getting up. So what I actually said instead was, because I'm gorgeous. That's why I've got a t-shirt of myself. But it's clearly not me. I mean, how could that be me? Apart from anything, I haven't got blue skin and I haven't got a Mohican. And I'm not an alien creature. Or am I? So, anyway, what was I talking about? Yes, fitness, my gym story. So, the reason I have this fitness principle of get up in the morning, do your workout and get on with it, is because I'm not a naturally sporty, fit, athletic person. I have to make myself do these things. You know, I'm not somebody who enjoys it automatically. And that's why doing the getting up in the morning and getting it done approach works for me, because once it's done, and I can get on with the rest of the day. And if I'm in that routine, then I can really build up my fitness life, and it just works out really well. Now, over the years, I have tried different things, and now I am in this space where I have got my own fitness approach, which is in the morning I do one of the 4 elements of fitness, which I wrote about in my book, Real Food Revival Plan. The first one is stamina. Stamina is the kind of fitness that you build through aerobic activity, where you build your heart and your lung capacity, your endurance. There's strength, that's the second element. Strength is, of course, the strength you build in your muscles and your bones by doing weight-bearing exercises. So, weightlifting with free weights, like the free weights that I've got here, or kettlebells, or calisthenic exercises, floor exercises, whatever it is, whatever your choice of weight-bearing exercise is, where you're working against resistance in order to build the tone and the capacity and the strength in your muscles and also your bones, because it does that too. So that's the second one, that's stamina. The third one is suppleness, and that of course is where you build flexibility in your joints by stretching before and after each workout, and also doing flexibility exercises like yoga or stretching exercises or whatever it is, so that you become supple and flexible and, be like a bamboo, so that when a heavy wind comes, you don't snap in half, you bend with it. You are able to mold yourself to the various vicissitudes of life. That is suppleness. And the fourth one is serenity, where you rest, you relax, you heal, you let your body catch up with itself. Not in a kind of unconscious flobbing out in front of the television way, but in a conscious, I am going to take time for myself, I am going to relax, I'm going to release, I'm going to allow stress to leave my body, I'm going to allow my body to heal, etc., etc. So there you are, the four elements of fitness: stamina, strength, suppleness and serenity. So I build those at home using my free weights. I do step aerobics, usually to a video on my computer. I occasionally will go for a walk at a kind of an aerobic pace. Well, let me just say, when I walk at an aerobic pace, I do not walk like one of those people who look as though they're trying to stop themselves from soiling their pants. That kind of, bum together, buttocks together, clenched, hip swiveling walk where you can do power walking. It's not that. I just walk at a brisk enough pace to be able to get up my heart rate and have a bit of aerobic conditioning. So I do that, or I sometimes will swim or whatever, but something that gets the heart rate up. That's my stamina exercise. Strength is doing free weights, occasionally kettlebells or yoga, power yoga, which also builds suppleness and stamina and strength. And then for suppleness I do yoga and stretching and so on. So at home I do a mixture of weights and aerobics and yoga, and that's my fitness approach. But over the years I have tried different things, and I have done the thing of experimenting to going to the gym, because I know that lots of people enjoy going to the gym. The reason I don't go to the gym is because I once had a highly embarrassing experience in a gym, and I've also written about this in my book. It's my Daley Thompson experience. Now, those of you who are from the UK and who are of a certain age will remember that Daley Thompson was, well, he still is, he's still alive, but was at the peak of his fame, a very highly regarded decathlete who competed in the Olympics, etc., etc., won gold medals and all kinds of stuff. While I was training as a retail manager, a personnel retail manager, many moons ago, I was sent on a course in Leicester. And at the time I was living in London, and I went to this course in Leicester. I was put up in a very posh hotel, and while I was in the hotel, I was in the hotel bar with some of my colleagues, and I noticed that another guest at the hotel was in fact the famous decathlete Daley Thompson. And he was just drinking in the bar. So I noticed him and thought, oh, it's Daley Thompson. Didn't think any more of it. Later on, I decided, because I had access to all of the hotel's facilities, I decided that I would get an induction into the gym at the hotel. So I went down to the hotel's gym and I asked for an induction, and this very nice gentleman inducted me into using some of the machines, and he said, what would you like to have a go on? And I said, well, let's have a go at the treadmill, because yeah, that's probably about the simplest thing, and I'll do a bit of an aerobic workout for half an hour on the treadmill. And he said, well, what kind of program do you want it on? I said, just put it on the most basic program, on the flat, fairly steady, I can adjust the speed if I need to. He said, fine. So he put the treadmill on, and I got on the treadmill and I started jogging on the treadmill. And after about a minute of jogging, I became aware that somebody was getting onto the treadmill beside me. And you guessed it. I turned and looked, and it was, of course, Daley Thompson. So far so good, although I felt a bit uncomfortable because here I was, little old me, huffing and puffing away on this treadmill and Daley Thompson on the treadmill next to me. But not to worry, I thought. He's doing his thing, I'll do my thing. Everything is good. Until about 2 or 3 minutes into my treadmill's programme, all of a sudden, spontaneously and without warning, the treadmill, which was on the flat, suddenly went and elevated up onto a slight incline. So I am now running up a slight incline. And I thought, well, this doesn't seem to be the most basic program on the treadmill. But not to worry, I can cope with this. It's you know, it's just a slight incline. It's a bit like, you know, running up a very slight hill. This is fine. As long as it doesn't go up any higher, I'll be okay. So after about 2 minutes, it goes up again. Yes, indeed. The treadmill inclines even further. So now I'm running up a, not exactly steep hill, but steeper than it was. And naturally enough, this is a bit harder work, and so I'm a bit more out of breath. And I'm conscious that Daley Thompson is there doing his thing, and I'm now, you know, huffing and puffing a bit doing my thing, but still okay, thinking, well, at least it'll be over soon because it's only half an hour program. I can cope with this. And then, needless to say, it goes up yet again, and now I am running up what felt like a very steep hill. It probably wasn't actually that steep, but it felt like a very steep hill, and by this point I think I am in trouble because, one, not only do I not know how to stop the machine, but two, I've got no idea whether this is going to go up any higher or whether it's going to suddenly go down or what. So I'm looking at the console on the treadmill, trying to figure out if I can press any buttons to make it go back down again, but being slightly worried that if I press the wrong thing, it might go up even higher, or it might stop suddenly and catapult me into the air or some weird stuff like that. But I am persevering. Probably by this point looking a slightly funny colour, but then to just make the moment more excruciating than it needed to be, I realised that Daley Thompson, who's running beside me, is looking over at me, and I look over at him and catch his eye, and I must have looked like a beetroot or something. I must have been red, I must have been huffing and puffing like a steam engine, and Daley Thompson said to me, as I was doing this, "Are you alright, mate?" I could have died. In fact, I nearly did die, because by that point I thought I am going to collapse if I don't get off this treadmill. But because I couldn't figure out how to turn it off, I did the only thing possible. I jumped off. So I jumped off the treadmill onto the ground, which would have been fine apart from the fact that, unbeknownst to me, the running on the treadmill had made my legs turn into some kind of weird, rubbery, jerky, robot chicken legs with a mind of their own. So I did this weird robot chicken dance across the gym and collapsed into a seat at the other side of the gym. So, that was my Daley Thompson gym experience. And suffice to say, I have never been back to a gym since, and I never will be. So that was my my story of fitness and the power of 3 and the Daley Thompson story. And then the other thing I wanted to say to you, and one just final thing that I wanted to say, was prompted actually by a Facebook post that was made by Jessica Starr, the Story Witch. And she'd posted an article or shared an article from the Zen Habits blog. I shall link it below, which I haven't actually read in detail yet, but the principle of it just intrigued me, and it's the idea of having a depth year. And what this means is, it can mean different things to different people, but the basic principle of it is you have a year, or a period of time, it doesn't have to be a year, but let's just say a year, where instead of spreading your attention further than it's already going, you actually go deep from where you're already at. What that means on a practical level is things like not buying any new books, you know, and if you're a tarot person, perhaps not buying any new decks, and just working with what you have for a period of time, like a year. And this really intrigued me because I have actually been thinking about the same thing myself. Some of you will know that we're doing some work on our house at the moment. This is why I'm on a quest for fresh air. I've got the windows open because our house is one of these weird houses that, although it's an old house and it has kind of ill-fitting windows, and you would think it would be drafty, and it is actually quite cold in the winter, it's actually not drafty. It can be a bit airless. So we're in this process at the moment of trying to freshen the house up. We're getting new windows, double glazing, we've got a new roof, better insulation, we're doing some damp proofing work downstairs, which is great. I'm on this quest, this mission to have fresh air in this house and not musty, stale air, which we occasionally get, more often than I would like. So, but part of that has meant that at the moment I've got lots of things in boxes, and we're moving those boxes from room to room as we do various bits of work. And the attic has been empty because we've been having the roof put on, and this coming weekend we're having the attic overboarded. So all the contents of the attic are downstairs in boxes, and various other things like bookcases are packed into boxes, and it's chaos, frankly. But the other day I was moving a box that had some of my books in it, and I did that thing that you're not really meant to do when you're moving things around. I looked in the box and I started rummaging, and I was looking at some of the books that were in the box, and to my horror I discovered there was about 3 or 4 books that I remembered buying, but I hadn't read. They hadn't even really been opened. They'd been flicked through at most, and I stood there holding these books thinking, this is ridiculous. You know, I've got all these books that I haven't read, and there's books on bookshelves that I haven't read, and there's other boxes of books. I've got tons and tons of books. I could actually go for quite a long time without buying any new books and still have enough reading material to keep me going. Well, just at that moment, there was a knock on the door. And I kid you not, I opened the door, having stood there with these books in my hand, thinking I haven't read any of these. I opened the door to find my friendly neighbourhood Amazon delivery man with a pile of parcels for me, all of which were new books that I had bought. And oh dear, I just thought this is not good. Something has to change, because I love books. I love buying books. I love having books for reference. I don't see buying books as in any way a waste of money. However, I was very aware that I was not giving the books the attention they deserve, and so I want that to change. So I thought I really need to put a moratorium on buying books and allow myself the time and the space to go into the books I already have. And it's the same with tarot decks. I found a couple of tarot decks that were still in their shrink wrap. I haven't even unwrapped them. And one of them, to my shame, one of them is a tarot deck that I have recently put back onto my Amazon wish list because I'd forgotten that I bought it. And I've had it all the time. How bad is that? So, I'm seriously thinking about doing this depth year. Maybe not a year. I might do my principle of the power of 3. I might do 3 weeks or 3 months and then see where it goes. The idea being that it's a chance to go deep, and I see lots of benefits in that, because it would mean that there's lots of things that I can give attention to, that I want to give attention to. There are things that I could share with you on this channel that I have kind of skimmed over and haven't given a chance to come up for air, and it would clear some space in my own mind and in my own head, because and that kind of loops back to one of the reasons that I wanted to do the fitness thing and the power of 3 and getting back on track with fitness, because the work that we're doing on the house and some of the other plans that I have, the books that I want to write, and the things that I want to achieve in my day job, and the things that I want to achieve with this channel, what I'm realizing is that I need to take stock and give some concerted effort to all of those things, and in doing that I need to give myself some time and space to do it. So I mentioned 3 decks that I wanted to share with you, and this is going to be very, very quick, because I'm going to actually do a bit of a card pull from these 3 decks. So the first one is Blessing cards. These are cards that come from Kathy Tyler and Joy Drake. You'll remember I did a walkthrough recently of the Intuitive Solutions cards, and they come from the same people as do the other deck that I want to show you, which is Angel cards. And really, these are lovely little cards. They're very simple, and they are literally cards that come. They've got little blue butterfly in the back. They're quite small, and they come with a blessing on them, or a word, an empowering word. This is what I pulled this morning. Very appropriate for what we've been thinking about in terms of the power of 3, breakthrough. But they have other names on them, like attentiveness, understanding, practicality, you know, so you can worth, various words like that. There's lots of them. There's a whole little bag of them, and you know, you can just dip in and pick a blessing for your day. Pleasure. And they work really well in terms of they work great as a gift. If you like put them on somebody's card, you can do that. And not dissimilar in principle is the original angel cards, which come in this very dinky little box, and inside the dinky little box is another dinky little box, and the angel cards are, as the name would suggest, angels with words on them like integrity, intention, abundance, and oh, that's a nice one, sisterhood and brotherhood. So you can use these as little augments, I think, to deeper readings, or you can use them as little inspirational readings in their own right. The angel cards actually form part of the intuitive solution set, and also the transformation game, which comes from Findhorn and was created by Kathy Tyler and Joy Drake. And so these are lovely little cards that are, I think, are quite charming and worth having on hand. The other thing I want to do is do a reading for you in this video from a deck that I haven't used for a while, which is the Celtic Shamans pack. And the artwork for this is written by John Matthews, and the artwork is from Cheska Potter, who is the artist who created the Greenwood Tarot with Mark Ryan, which was later turned into the Wildwood Tarot with a different artist, Will Worthington. But if you're a fan of the original Greenwood and Cheska Potter's art, which I am, then the Celtic Shamans book is lovely. And so to finish this video, this rambling all over the place video about various slightly unrelated but also kind of intimately related things, I'm going to pull you a card from the Celtic Shamans pack and see what's our message for today. We have got the Lord of the Underworld. Isn't that lovely? Look at that. Very appropriate for the dark part of the year, which we are well and truly heading into. You know, we've passed Samhain, heading towards Yule. We're heading into the darkness. So I'm just going to read you what this card says, so you get a sense of how this deck works. And if you'd like to know more, then I could do a walkthrough of the deck, although I think there are others online. But if you'd like to see my walkthrough, let me know, and we'll see where we go. So, the Lord of the Underworld, Aaron, a horned and glowing figure, rides a wild white steed across the land, accompanied by white hounds. He blows a great horn, summoning all who would follow. And this keyword, the keyword for this card is unpredictability. So, in the depths of the underworld, anything may happen. It is a place of change and unpredictability, and as its master, Aaron shares these qualities in himself. He is given to swift anger and retaliation in the face of anything touching his honour. He also rectifies imbalances, setting straight the record and balancing inequities in every aspect of life. I have to say that, you know, balancing inequities is pretty much what I would like to experience. Lots of rebalancing going on for me at the moment. So, lore. In the Mabinogion, Puil encounters Aaron while out hunting. The Lord of the Underworld's white-bodied, red-eared pack pulls down the stag that Puil is hunting, but he drives them off. Aaron appears and demands a payment for the slight. Puil and he must exchange places for a year, at the end of which time Puil must fight Aaron's enemy, Halfgan, who is lord over another otherworld kingdom. In fact, this combat is another example of the struggle between the kings of summer and winter. Puil and Aaron take on each other's form, and everything occurs as they had agreed. Puel defeats Halfgan, and Aron and he become firm friends thereafter. Aron, as leader of the Hounds of Annan, has been linked with the leader of the Wild Hunt, who has been identified with Arthur, Charlemagne, Herne the Hunter and Odin, and who appears in folk cultures around the world, pursuing the souls of evildoers. And each of these cards comes with a journey, a kind of a path working you can do in order to get the most from the cards. So here is the path working for this card. Journey to the gates of Annan, deep within a valley of rocks and stones. Knock at the gates and answer the door word with your name and a wish to enter, and speak with the Lord of the in-world. You are admitted, and find yourself walking in a twilight landscape where the trees have crystal leaves and the sun rides low in a pale sky. Before you rises a castle of animal bones carved with dancing patterns that are hard to look upon. The doors open and you enter an echoing hall where silent people pass to and fro on business of their own. No one pays any attention to you, and you go forward to the foot of a great carved throne of adamant, on which sits the Dark King of Annan himself. He smiles upon you and beckons you closer. He shows you a great natural basin of rock nearby, a mighty stone cauldron filled with clear liquid. This, he tells you, is the cauldron of Annan, which offers new life and a new focus to the old. You may drink, but Aron warns you that changes greater than you wish may result from this. Take your time, and if necessary, invoking the aid of your helpers, decide whether you are ready for this draft. If not, give thanks to the Lord of the Underworld and return to the mundane world. When you are ready, you may make this journey again. If you decide to drink, do so and give thanks. On returning, write down all that you can remember of the experience. So, in this discussion of the power of three, the magic of the cauldron, going deep, journeying into the underworld and into the dark half of the year, and a desire to create change where change is necessary. Perhaps the message or the question that comes to us is, are we ready? So until next time, my friends, take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you again very soon.